Welcome back to another episode of Women and the Businesses They Own, the podcast where we explore the stories, grit, and grace behind women-owned brands that are redefining success. Today's guest is Courtney, a kombucha creator based in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, and the founder of a business that's bubbling over with purpose, passion, and boldness. She didn't grow up dreaming of launching a kombucha company, but somewhere between curiosity and courage, she turned a passion for wellness into a growing brand that's rooted in authenticity and flavored with resilience. Whether you're a fellow founder, a kombucha fan, or someone quietly dreaming of launching something of your own, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it. Courtney, please tell us a little bit more about yourself personally and professionally.
There, that was such a wonderful introduction. Thank you. It was generous, and you nailed it.
Good.
I started Cultured in 2015, and it was based out of my passion for health and wellness. So much of that, brought forth by my own experiences and learning to live in my own body and understanding my own health journey. Which I think, gosh, we all have opportunity to grow and learn in, don't we?
Sure do. Absolutely. So did yours start with something, just nothing was wrong, or did you have some sort of something that you just were uncomfortable with, some sort of maybe not an
Mhm.
illness, but how did the health journey begin?
Yeah, great question. I do believe in both divine purpose, and I also believe that there's these little pings that we receive throughout our life sprinkled in, right, that kind of help guide us along those paths. And my first step down that path was that I went to culinary school. I loved it. It opened me up to such an incredible world. And while I was there, I started to recognize that one, my body was constantly uncomfortable, and I just thought it was normal, but apparently it wasn't normal. And two, people were so disconnected from their food and how it affects their daily vitality and eat well, live well. Like it just in the American food system, man, that's toast. So yeah, I left culinary school with this distinctive understanding of what direction my life was gonna head, but I didn't know the rest of the process along the way.
So did culinary school, is that something that they actually are teaching about wholeness, goodness, nutrition, or is that just something you
No,
picked up? Like that?
so that's a good question, and I'm hopeful. I think that with the current climate and conversations around food, that definitely has an opportunity to shift and change. Um, when I was going through the program, it was all about the Food Network Gourmet, right? That's what was trending at the time. I was there in 2009, 2000 through 2011. Um, I will say that we had one course in nutrition, which technically means I have more nutrition training than your local doctor. So there's that, just said out
Yeah,
loud.
good.
Um, so we had one basic nutrition course, but I really resonated with the fact that, yeah, flavor is key, and I learned to develop that, which I've carried throughout the rest of my career. Um, but outside of that, it was really just about eating to eat. When you really can have both, you don't have to sacrifice flavor for function. Like you have the opportunity to put both together. And so I think this conversation piece around food should be flavorful, but it should also have a functional component to you, and you should understand how it affects your daily wellness.
I, I I really love that. I mean, to be able to be healthy and to understand nutrition, that's what comes on the outside. I really truly believe everything that we
Mhm.
see on the outside is coming from the inside, what we put into our bodies. Maybe not right away, sometimes right away, but other times it just takes time for it to resonate. And people are always trying to fix something that really just comes from daily diets and what have you. So does
Yeah.
culinary school really talk about the different seasonings, how important some of these things are that can be beneficial? Like this is going to sound funny to maybe some of our listeners, but dandelion or horse's tail
Sure.
or some of these things. I mean, do you ever some those I'm learning a little bit myself about that.
Absolutely. So what you're getting into is this functional world, right, of food.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the functional beverage space and the functional food space. And so that's what I eat, breathe, live daily. Seeing these new food trends that come out that relate to your health and wellness. In culinary school, what we learned was how to do the basics and how to do them well.
Okay.
And that translated over into my current industry, but I had to go the extra mile and study, holistic nutrition online. I went back to school to study dietetics, so it was this really interesting path that didn't feel like it made a circle until I was, 75% around the curve. So, between the culinary school and the nutrition training, it all came together with this opportunity to craft a kombucha company. And while we make an incredible product, hands down, I will preach it from the mountaintops that our kombucha is one of the best kombuchas on the market. There's many great companies, but not many go through the lengths that we do to make the product as wholesome as it is. But the company has nothing to do with the actual kombucha.
Oh,
The company has to do with learning about your health and helping you along the way with your journey. If we teach someone what a probiotic is, how to read an ingredient panel, what USDA organic means, like we've really done a lot just in doing that.
explain a little bit more about that. Well, first of all, say the name of your company for all of our listeners. Give a little bit of, because I know when you're starting and launching a company, it sounds extremely successful today, but it doesn't start out that way. So if you can give us the name, kind of give a little bit of background. I'm sure you had a lot of late nights. I'm sure you had no fun over the weekends. It was all about putting back into the company to where you are today. Maybe even explain where you are today from that beginning. And then I'd love to hear some of your flavors.
Absolutely. So I launched Cultured Kombucha Company in 2015. I was 24 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, I was a baby. And we just turned 10 this year, which for business is an incredible milestone to be in business for 10 years.
It really
Yeah.
is. Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, most don't make it past year 1 and year 3, so to be this far along just feels like a gift in and of itself. We started with a few 5-gallon pails at our local farmers market, and we sold out in about 20 minutes. So we had a great product that was viable and supported by the community, which was a key pillar for us. And now we have 7 different products in the works, and we've got a few more coming down the pipeline this fall. We are distributed in 7 states and have over 600 retail locations.
That is incredible. So, and like I said in the introduction, you're based out of Traverse City. Is that really where it's all done? Right there in Traverse City?
We've got a 5,000 square foot manufacturing facility that we, from start to finish, the product starts here and leaves here.
How many employees do you have?
Right now we have a team of 5.
Okay. And for a team of 5, you can be in I wrote seven states. That's incredible that you have that distribution to be able to do that. And at 24, and you did culinary school, but not necessarily, or maybe change, tell me differently, but did you do any business courses along the way? I mean, how did you
Yeah, good question.
Because I always recognize that when you're starting a new business, it's always easy to do what you do or what you're launching, but sometimes it's hard to do the business aspect. So tell us a little bit about that, the juggle.
Yeah, so there's an organization that I work with that has what they refer to as an amoeba, and this amoeba has different colors and shapes within it, and it talks about the life cycle of where the entrepreneur falls within their business.
Mhm.
And so you always start out as this creator, right? And then you kind of morph out of a creator into this manager, and then you move into a delegator, and you usually go back to manager, and then you go back to being a delegator, and then you're, a leader, and then it's such a scope of what you experience in terms of business transitions. So yeah, I started out as a creative, passionate maker, and she's still in there. Her day-to-day looks a lot different.
So you're the one responsible for all the new recipes that might come out.
My team and I work together to collaborate on that. We taste test our flavors at our local tap room here in Traverse City. And then we offer 7 products for sale in stores with an exciting line of rotating seasonals.
So I did hear you talked about your company, you're really passionate about education. How do you educate? Because that's where you talked about the prebiotics, if I heard you right, prebiotic. So can you say a little bit more about a prebiotic, what that is, how that's beneficial to people in this kombucha drink, but how do you educate the public as well?
Yeah, great question. So, we joke that 3/4 of what we do here is still education based, even after 10 years of being in business. Kombucha is a beverage that's been around for over 2,000 years. And it really didn't get its mainstream popularity until probably the last decade or so. We were pretty early adopters. So kombucha is a tea that's fermented, but it's not fermented for the sake of alcohol. It's actually fermented for the sake of health. So when you think about that, think about yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha falls into that bandwagon. Um, and so when you drink it, you're getting probiotics. And so these probiotics are living live cultures that nourish your body from the inside out. So just like you are a living being, right? You need to eat living foods. We don't want these over-processed, hyper-processed, high sugar, hyper additive based foods. We want foods that are matching to our bodies, that are alive and living, and kombucha is one of them. And so by drinking this, we allow ourselves to repopulate our body with the good bacteria it needs every day.
The probiotics are really good, but I noticed that you're bringing in, and so like I asked you about these different spices that might be added, like, I just named off a couple of them, but I
Yeah,
think your flavor, what is your number one flavor? And I think if I remember correctly, when I was looking, you're bringing in what maybe some people would call scents or florals or scent, or maybe a ginger, or can you tell me what your number one is? Or
sure, absolutely. Yes, we've got a great fun line of flavors. We designed it so that all demographics and all different styles of taste buds could really find a kombucha that they resonate with. Because we wanted to make sure that the product could impact as many lives as possible, right?
yeah.
That aligns with our mission, vision, and values. Our values that we want to push into the community alongside our mission to, create healthier lifestyles for others. So some of our best-selling flavors blend, really fun, tasty ingredient with a more functional ingredient, right? So, an example of that would be our mango turmeric flavor. Delicious, tropical, amazing mango, right? Everyone loves mango, paired with, earthy, anti-inflammatory turmeric.
I love that. Turmeric.
So
So
good.
what was the part that was with the turmeric? You called it a what? I'm sorry.
We call it that flavor mango tango turmeric.
Mango tango turmeric. Okay. I gotta
Yeah,
try that one. I don't think that was the one that I had recently tried. I always go more for the berry myself. There was
absolutely.
a red or a berry one, but that's what I
Yeah.
would be looking for, is that turmeric, that different nice little spice that can go in there. And turmeric can be good for joints, inflammation. May I say that?
Absolutely. So they've all got some additional fun play on top of the health
Yeah.
benefits of the kombucha itself. The one I think you're referencing is our Namaste nectar, which has really bright, fun tropical notes of hibiscus, but it's
Yes.
also got that really good, jammy, good for you elderberry syrup in it as well, that we boil down in house here, that is great for cold and flu season, immunity, all of these other really great properties to it too.
Okay, so you said there's a tap room in Traverse City, so that's something that people
Yeah.
can just come into and try your flavors. Where will they find you in Traverse City?
Great question. So our tap room is out in Chubb's Corners. Our address is listed online.
Okay,
We're open from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
perfect. Now, for me, I'm in Grand Rapids more often, and for a lot of our listeners maybe as well. Is there a place that you're familiar with where your product might be here in town?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you asked, right? Because the connection piece to where you can get the good stuff is always the
Yes.
missing link. So you can find Cultured Kombucha products at your local Meyer stores.
Oh, great. We've got
Yeah,
plenty of those.
sure do, don't you? Right there in
We have
Grand
lots of them
Rapids.
here.
Yep. You can also find us at your local family fair.
Okay.
D&W Fresh, your local, if you're in Southeast Michigan, Bush's Fresh Foods, we have a variety of locations to choose from. There's a store locator on our website.
Oh, perfect. Good. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad that we're able to find you so easily and right there in Grand Rapids Family Fair, Meyer. That's going to be easy for anybody to go ahead and be able to find you in probably the refrigerated section. Is it
you got it.
individual? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I prepared a couple of questions that I wanted to go over with you. So let's go ahead and go back to some of those. Thank you for telling us a little bit about your background. I think already I'm stunned with you being 24 and launching this type of a business that really, as I've been talking to a lot of other ladies, I find that there's some similarities here or there. And so you going to a farmer's market makes me think of somebody else, that I think it was our first podcast, where she had started at a farmer's market as well. But I don't think anybody was 24. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
there, part of it was blind passion, part of it was blind naivety, but I guess I'm certainly grateful that I had those blinders on because it wouldn't have taught me what I have learned along the way.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. Well, so and part of what this question says is, and how I'm starting with this 24 being 24, because it says, let's just go back to the beginning and at what moment or what experience first made you say, yeah, I want to do this, I want to make kombucha. And not just make it for yourself. I mean, like going to a farmer's market or what have you, or sharing with your family, but then what made you just want to launch it into a business?
Yeah, great question. I graduated from college with my second degree and got a big kid corporate job. I learned a lot about it, but I recognized that the company and I, we had very separate ethos. I did not believe in what they were doing, but I did hope that I was a fly on the wall that could make a difference. In the meantime, on the weekends, I would volunteer on an organic farm just to kind of keep myself centered with my good crunchy heart. And we used to drink her kombucha while we were weeding in the fields because it was better than water.
Oh,
And yeah, so one day she paid me in a kombucha culture for my labors for the day, and I made a gallon and I drank it all. Made 5 gallons and I couldn't quite drink it all. And so I started, trading it for eggs or a Reiki session, things like that. And I got to the point with the job where I was like, man, this is better than the store-bought stuff. Hands down. And I know that I have roundabout the knowledge to make it happen, right? So it just seems like a missed opportunity in life. If I can make other people's quality of life better through, a healthier lifestyle choice, why would I not?
so it sounds like she was a little bit of a mentor to you as well.
I definitely had the opportunity to see a lot of holistic opportunities there. And I'm grateful that I took the step to have that volunteer space in my life, it always seems to teach me a lot when I do that. And yeah, I'm grateful for the work that I've had in the holistic space. It's just such a welcoming community.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting that we never know where those connections or if we volunteer or what job we might have or what group we may form or join and these people that come into our lives and how they just might open up a whole new world for us. I don't know. There's so many different things that we
Oh,
all enjoy or that we all have natural bents or leans to or talents or skills and it's just being able to find these different things in our life. I mean,
mhm.
people that limit themselves to just one thing, I always feel so sad because we have so many things that we can do and that we can really fall in love with and even use them to serve others like you have.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
think our
really
greatest talents come with the opportunity to show others how we can serve them. That's always where your best talents are gonna lie.
oh my gosh, I definitely agree with that. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Well, I'm glad for this organic farmer because we have this great product from there and who
Yeah,
knew that back
definitely,
then?
right.
Well, so do you remember the first batch you brewed and what was happening in your life or in your kitchen or just in your headspace that day? I mean, I don't know which one was your first one, but I'm anxious to hear.
Yeah, so when I was making it at home, my first batch exploded.
Oh no.
Uh, so it was a strawberry basil and I had gotten, the ingredients from our local farmer's market and I let it bottle condition too long in the counter and it exploded. I came home from work one day and,
Oh,
the
no.
ceiling was bright pink, but the floor was sparkling clean because my dog had looked it all up.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
What did the drink do to your dog?
Yeah, he was happy camper. I came in, he was wagging his tail, all good. He loved it.
Oh,
But
that's
it was
great.
certainly a solid mess to clean up.
Well, it has so much carbonation. I love that part of For me,
Mhm.
I love the fizz. And even when I can't
Yeah,
finish one all at one time, you cap it up again, open it back up. That thing has just as much fizz the second time I open it. And that for me, I just have always loved, like, I guess, like, I don't do a lot of soft drinks anymore, but I used
right.
to love the soft drink, like the soda fountains or
Yeah.
maybe like having beer on tap or something. You just get so much more
Mhm.
fizz. And so I really
Yeah,
enjoy these kombucha drinks because I love
yeah.
that sparkle. I always call it the sparkle. People are
Mhm.
like, why do you drink
Yes.
that? I'm like, it's a sparkle. It feels good in the back of your throat. You're drinking.
Yeah, a little something extra, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you stuck with strawberry basil even though it exploded the first time?
I had some fun with it. Strawberry certainly seems to play a solid role in our seasonal line. We have strawberry rhubarb that's a hit every year. But yeah, that's, the cool thing about, functional beverages is kombucha can satisfy that need. You just noted on it yourself. You swapped out soda for a kombucha, right? Like
Yeah.
what better option could you ask for?
Yeah, if you can get kombucha on tap. Well,
Mhm.
you
You
do it at
can,
your
yeah,
tap. I was like, but we got to get that in stores. What a great thing that would
yeah,
be.
yeah.
That's next on your list, please.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we'll see what we can do to make it happen for you.
When you talk about rhubarb, it makes my cheeks hurt already. When you bite into rhubarb and it's
Mhm.
just got this. I
Oh,
grew
it's the
up on,
best.
I know I grew up on rhubarb. My grandma always had it in the back, and
Yeah,
all those grandkids would go out there
yeah,
and just be like, "Woo!" Take
yeah,
a
definitely. Yeah.
bite. All right, well, we often see the label, the logo, the end product, but what's something behind the scenes you had to push through to make the brand
Mhm.
what it is today?
A lot of those.
Give us one or two.
Yeah, which one do we talk about? Let's see. I think the reality is it's probably most succinctly said that, choosing a business and choosing a business that contributes to the greater good is always based off of a mountain hill of sacrifices. Right? And it's determining which to handle in which order. And so I think the overarching one is that, I sacrificed my entire 20s to build this brand, in a lot of ways. I didn't have a very conventional, college experience, but I also didn't have a very conventional, early career, right? I worked 6, 7 days a week for almost 10 years straight because I believed in what I was doing. And I believe that I had the opportunity to serve the greater good. So, I was up at 4 a.m. to get ready for farmers markets every Saturday for 6 years. Before I could afford to bring someone in. I dedicated my extra time to learning new skills so that I could do them for the business, so I didn't have to hire it out, because I might not have had the means to hire it out. I started out with $248 in my bank account. I lived out of the back of my Jeep for a few months while we were making it happen. Um, so, I think that the overall sacrifice that, the average small and mid-sized business owner makes on the day-to-day is probably what the general public doesn't have it, and they won't until they experience it. I don't ever expect anyone to understand it, but I think it's the most intense portion of it that, goes unsaid.
Yeah, that's really eye-opening actually, because when we talked about you being so young, but yeah, you really sacrificed your 20s. I was trying to think back in my
Mhm.
20s, what was I doing? What was I doing differently? But you
Right.
had, so 6 years, 4 a.m. on a Saturday. I mean, just trying to think, I love my Saturdays to be able to just kind of sleep in a little bit. The weeks for me are more
Mhm.
hectic, and I can't imagine
Yep.
4 a.m. So when you're doing that for 52 weeks, a year or what have you, I don't know how that worked in the wintertime necessarily, but for 6 years, what was it that kept you going? Where did that grit come from?
Mhm. Um, that's a good question. I think that, part of it is just my personality. Um, the running joke is that there's no stronger man than a firstborn daughter. Um,
I never heard that one.
so I got that one going for me. Uh, I had an unwavering passion to educate people. I saw how broken the system was, and it's still broken in a lot of ways. Um, and I know what it's like to live in pain. I know what it's like to be free from that pain, and I want that for everyone who can experience it. So part of that's a personal reasoning to keep me going, but I also think that, helping people understand their bodies and reconnecting with their bodies is part of, the God-given divine gifts that I've come here to experience. And so I think a lot of it's also built into my journey with faith. I know this is the path I'm supposed to be on.
I love those answers that you have so much.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, no, it's really sincere. I can see it on your face that you're really, and that's what I was looking for, just to be able to, little vulnerability maybe, but just being
Yeah.
able to share with our listeners, because I'm really hopeful that this will resonate, just this
Mhm.
podcast in general. I've met so many wonderful women. You and I are just pretty much meeting on this podcast, and so your story is really hitting home for me because it's new.
Oh,
Particular.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
so I'm
discipline
hoping,
as a practice. Yeah.
and I'm hoping I can be part of your firstborn daughter club. I'm the oldest. I'm the
Yeah.
oldest of four. You know,
Mhm.
I have two sisters and a brother, but I want to be part of that, of no stronger man than a firstborn daughter. Did I write that correctly?
Absolutely. Yep. It seems to hit home,
Yeah.
the women that I know that are firstborns are the typically type A, but they're some of the most, dedicated, disciplined, self-sacrificing women that I know. And it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm keeping my birthright on that one.
Absolutely. As you
That's what
should.
it is.
Yep. Yeah.
What decision did you make along the way that felt risky or maybe even a little crazy, but turned to be what ended up being a turning point, like a major turning point in your business? After 10 years, was there something that really just, because like you said, first year, third year, I'd always heard 5 years, like when you can
Mhm.
really make the business and succeed in those first 5 years, let's say. I mean, you finally, I don't know if you breathe a sigh of relief or you kind of get past all that business aspect of it or a little bit more marketing, you get some consistent clients, you're now in 7 states. What was that major turning point can you think of?
Yeah, so we had year one, year three, and year five, and there was again I bootstrapped it, right? So that was probably the crazier, riskiest part, honestly. Beverage brands are usually like multi-million dollar investments to get off the ground. They're a very patient capital request, right? Because the time to return on an investment's not always quick. Most brands that I know will have a $3 to $5 million pocket to work with right off of the bat. So to scale from $248, I think was just probably inherently risky and blatantly stupid at the time, but I didn't know it. So I went into it naive and blessed in that. Um, After year five, COVID hit, and so we survived that, which in and of itself is also pretty wild. Um, I think the biggest and craziest risk out of all of it, to be honest, was getting into the space of health and wellness with an authentic product, because it is such a convoluted space. It's a space that has a high risk. It's a space that has lots of failure. It's a space that has lots of gimmicks. And so to go into this with the commitment of I'm going to stay with my values, I'm going to stay with my ethos, I'm going to see this through because it has a real meaning behind it. Probably the riskiest part for sure.
So is there more regulation with that too? I mean, if you were just going to have a regular product line of, I don't know, cookies or something, but to go into this health space, is there more regulation, more disclaimers, more things that you have to do through the Food and Drug, or I don't know, is there something
FDA, yeah.
different that you have to do? Yeah.
I mean, we certainly have a good amount of rigor and regulation, as someone should, right? We
Yeah.
are an FDA registered facility, USDA organic, all of the bells and whistles, certified woman owned. I don't necessarily think that that's the hardest part, but it's easier to have a Ponzi scheme, right? And just knock out a product that doesn't actually have the claims and the values behind it, than to maintain that track of authenticity.
Okay, got it.
Like your cookie company example, right? It's easy to sell fat and sugar to people. Why would you not?
Yeah,
But to
it
say
seems
like, no,
to
you
be.
should really try this because it's good for you. You've never heard of it. It sounds like kombucha. It sounds like a different language. But I think you should just fall off a cliff here, right, with me and understand that it's better for your body. And so just, that education piece, again, going back to education, it was a risk to understand consumer adoption is probably the best way to put it.
I could see that when I first saw it on the shelf before any of this happened. But I remember seeing it on the shelf and going,
Right.
like how
Yeah.
do you say it? Is it English? Is it
Mhm.
derived from a different language? And And
Right.
why should we drink this?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can understand that when you're saying it that way. I mean, those are
Yeah.
some things that kind of cross your mind initially. But
Mhm.
once you realize, I think the health and awareness is really blossoming, so much more today where people are watching a little bit more about what they're putting in their bodies, or they're taking notice of, just I don't know, going to the gym, drinking water, making sure that there's other aspects of health around you. I feel like in those conversations that I'm having, people are trying to, learn a little bit more. I don't think they're there yet because, we're in a fast-paced world and everybody wants convenience. And it's harder. It's harder to be organic. It's harder, I'm trying to do a lot of that myself, try to do more farmers markets myself, try to get
Mhm.
those,
Yeah.
those vegetables and those fruits and those things, more local, and hoping that they're doing less
Mhm.
pesticides, following some of these natural processes. And so I mean, I'm seeing it a little bit more. I think you're, like you said, you're at the beginning stages of it, probably maybe slightly early.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we can be that bug in someone's ear early on in the process, like it's that's amazing. That's something to be so grateful for. Um, you know, true change is a true lifestyle shift is based off of small decisions compounding over time, right?
Oh,
Every decision you make, every choice you make on a day-to-day basis, even if it's a quick snack or if it's, you know, whatever gas station stop you go to, like every single one of those decisions compounds into your future self. And so it is the utmost form of self-sabotage when we choose to stray from that path, right? We're all blessed with the body, and we're blessed with the opportunity to live and to grace and to get up every day. And gosh, there's so many people that wouldn't trade the world to have access to a healthy body again, right? And
yeah.
so if we can touch people early on in that process and help them understand like these small acts of discipline and showing up for yourself just through these small lifestyle choices each day, you, it's so impactful.
I am writing down just one thing that resonated, showing up for yourself. However, you just said something like these. I was trying to remember what you were just thinking.
Yeah,
The small, what was it? The small decisions or just showing up for yourself, you said, but um,
these
uh,
small acts that you do every day, right?
yes.
Every single choice you make, it compounds. It's the compounding interest of life, right? Speaking from that sense, which I think most people can understand. Um, what you choose is what you allow, right?
Well, we are all blessed with this one body that we have, but we're never sure how many days or years that we have. And so I would definitely go for quality over quantity, because you
Mhm.
just really want to feel good. So you're right. There's a lot of people that are in a space where they would just trade a healthier body or to feel good, so, but when we're kids, we don't think about it. We think we can eat anything, we can drink anything, and we have lots of years before we have to take notice, but really it's it starts it starts earlier and it builds and compounds right inside our bodies. And so I don't know. We just start, I guess we start to where do people first start to pay attention? I don't know, 40s maybe. They
So
should
I
start
think I think
here.
that yeah, there's these like unique conversion moments, right? And it's usually when someone has that first level health crisis.
Yeah.
I was talking with a mentor about it, and it's really the art of catching people before they get to that crisis, but making sure that they take it seriously. It could be something as simple as some minor arthritis. It could be something as severe as a heart attack. But everyone at some point in their lives, typically between like 20 and 40, will have some type of initial health crisis that makes them stop and say, whoa, right? Could be breaking a leg, it could be a car accident, there's a million ways it can happen, but there's something that generally makes people stop and say, okay, I need to reevaluate. And so it's, how long do they stick to it? Who's directing them once they've understood that? And what path do they want to choose for themselves? Because ultimately it's all their own choice.
That's true. Accountability helps though, when you have a
Amen.
partner in that. So if you have a spouse, a friend, a sister,
Mhm.
any type of family member, sometimes that's the hardest part. Discipline is the hardest part, but accountability can be so helpful. Keep us on that right path. All right,
Yeah.
so we've kind of talked about a little bit of a misconceptions around kombucha, but what about as
Mhm.
a young female business owner, and what would you
Mhm.
love to prove wrong? You know, having these misconceptions, female owner, started out young,
Yeah.
10 years. So basically, if you started at 24, you're 10 years in the business, you're a whole 34 years old.
Yes, you are correct.
Right? So, I mean, still
Yeah.
young. So, what is it that you're out to prove that most people
Yeah.
have this misconception? I can think of several. What is yours?
Yeah, I think a lot of that time between 20 and 30, I spent so much time trying to prove things to people. And I've let a lot of that go, thankfully. When I really chose to let go of what I was proving to other people and just to show up for my own purpose and mission, that's when things seemed to fall in line. When I was in my 20s, I experienced the gamut of uh stereotypical issues for women business owners. Um, got my first line of credit and the banker handed it to the boyfriend of the at the time being to sign the paperwork. I was like, okay, that's cool. I had an investor who was interested in looking at our company and which I didn't take. He asked me just outright if I planned to have kids in the next 5 years. I was like, well, probably not your business, and even if I did, I'd still probably be better than you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see where some of these things would kind of rub you a little bit.
well, they
Lights a
have a
fire.
budget. It does. I think understanding how to operate a business with the intensity and stress that we experience on the day to day, taught my nervous system a lot, and how the female body holds that within the hormone structures we have to work with. That was a massive learning curve. So I think walking through that scope and learning how to navigate it with success and coming out on the other side, it's probably the ultimate proving them wrong. You know.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, if they could, either one of them could see you now, right? And then they would just be
Yeah.
like, oh man.
Well, those are microcosm examples, right? I just think those
Yeah,
are small things that we're given and we can choose to be reactive towards them, or we can choose to say, okay, I understand that. I'm gonna let it go and I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna do 10 times better than you ever thought I would. And I'm not gonna think twice about it, but you're gonna look back with regret.
exactly. I think we all have a little bit of that in our life at some point, and it can
Mhm.
be, I mean, you certainly don't want to hang on to that anger or frustration or disappointment in these people. I mean, that never does anything good, but you can certainly use it for a more positive attitude, a little fire, like I
Absolutely.
said, I mean, yeah, being able to prove to somebody else, or even if you never see them again, proving to yourself
Mhm.
you did this in spite of maybe some of those things that other people thought. And like you said, we have to get rid of those things anyway. It doesn't matter what other people think along the way, but usually when we start out, we feel like we have to prove to other people, or we have to blend in a little bit and be like others, or different things along the way. And then we find ourselves in our on our own space, that space of success, and we have a lot more confidence. And now what other people think doesn't necessarily mean anymore. The accomplishments speak for themselves. So
Absolutely.
that's great. Okay, so I'm going to try to speed up these last two, but what's
Okay.
the next bold step you're excited or nervous to take with your business?
Yeah, good question. We're launching a line of canned kombucha, which is gonna allow us to take our brand further into different communities. So I'm excited to get that out into the market. It's bold, I think, for our industry, but it's gonna allow us to help people access that healthier lifestyle as well in so many more areas than they would with glass bottles.
Oh, so say that again. When you first said it, you said what type of kombucha are you going to launch?
So we're gonna launch a canned line of
Oh,
kombucha.
canned. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
saying that.
absolutely.
Okay, the
Yeah.
canned line. So that is pretty exciting. That's a nice big
Mhm.
bold move. And what's the difference then between I mean, glass maybe, I mean, does glass tend to be healthier, or is it more expensive? Is one better to recycle? What are your thoughts on why going can?
Yeah, so we're gonna offer both.
Okay.
But what this allows us to do is allows our healthy product to follow you anywhere where life takes you, whether that be the beach, on school campuses, in stadiums, places where those choices might not always be accessible. It's gonna allow us to get one step closer to you on that journey.
Oh, gotcha. Because a lot of those places don't allow glass.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that for me. I mean, I'm hoping
Yeah,
that I'm not the only one that needed that
sure,
question.
sure. Yep.
Okay, so if you could hand your younger self a kombucha bottle with a message printed under the cap, that makes me think of
Mhm.
the lemonade,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
nectar people, the Nantucket nectar people. But anyway, what would it say? What's your message and your cap on
Mm.
top of your kombucha?
Good question. Um, Having faith over fear, right? It's always gonna be a little bit scary. It's always gonna be challenging. Um, but you wouldn't be given the challenge if you were not for it. And just, relaxing a little bit more into that process. So, forgetting and trusting the process, faith over fear, it always ends up working out somehow.
I've heard you mention faith several times. Did you grow up in
Yeah,
a faith-based home?
I did. I grew up with parents who cared very much about my perspective on faith. I think I also, in being in the holistic industry, I went into the other aspects of faith. I studied a lot of different religions. And I had to really come to understand what my relationship with my God looks like and how to translate that amongst a modern world. So I grew up in a Methodist household. I went to a Catholic high school. And, I studied other religions around the world and I understood, different energetic practices, meditations, Reiki, things like that. And so, I've gotten to have this really beautiful relationship with whom I call God and
Mm-hmm.
just being able to tune into that intuition every day for that guidance system is such an incredible blessing.
I was going to say, when you're launching a business, I just said in life, I mean, I would say myself and same thing. And when it's always nice, I think on the way here, I had a small little blessing in the car as I spoke to a
Always.
client of myself. And gosh, the first thing I wanted to do is just celebrate with God. And I was just like,
Yep.
thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it was just such a relief to have
Yep.
been able to get that call in the way that the result that came through. But that was always my first initial because as soon as there was the issue, I went right to him for the help,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yep.
I always try to remember, I mean, it's easy to ask for help. Hard part is the praise. And so anyway,
Mhm.
that was always my first reaction, but I wanted to mention that
Yeah.
because I heard you say that, and that is so
Yeah.
important. It gets you through the tough times when you have that strong faith as well. I mean, when you have the ability to really hone in, have those tough conversations, maybe even cry a little, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but sometimes I just felt like I could stay in his rest, hold that peace, and know that all would be well.
It's the reciprocity that you build in the relationship, right? And I think that in my 20s, I was probably kind of mad at that relationship a lot. And so I had to get comfortable, one, as a type A person asking for help. But knowing that anything that I ask for is small fish and whatever capacity my limited human brain has to think, like there's always something that's a million ways better for it to come in. And it always does, I've never had something that was given to me that didn't expand me in a way that, shaped me and molded me. And so for that, especially as a small business owner, man, the gratitude that comes along the way for all of that stretching and expansion is endless.
It's incredible. It's
Mhm.
truly incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this conversation lit a spark in you, whether it's to pursue your own dream or make peace with a messy middle or just take one bold step forward today. If her story resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and let someone else be reminded your journey is valid, your voice matters, and you're not alone. So here we're going to go as we end this podcast today into a lightning round, just some fast, quick questions that are more personality fun driven. So don't think too hard, just the first thing that comes to mind. So do you wear heels or tennis shoes? What do you prefer?
Barefoot.
Wait a second. That's a good one, but okay, now I gotta adjust my question. What's your signature a signature scent or perfume?
Hmm,
Or do you
lavender
wear
and
any?
yes, right. Lavender and sandalwood.
Okay, but those are good. I'm still stuck in your barefoot, actually. I love that. I try to do a lot of barefoot, but it's not the way I was raised. So I'm having to unlearn this because it was always about
Mhm.
keeping my feet clean and not going in the house. Then I did it to my kids, and now as I'm learning so much more, the grounding is so important and to be barefoot. And
Yeah.
darn, that just makes me laugh. Okay, your go-to karaoke song.
I've never done karaoke. It scares the living daylights out of me. If I had to, it would probably be a 90s pop song for sure.
Perfect. I'll take that. Well, I think I know this one. Morning person or nighttime?
Morning,
Yeah.
definitely morning person.
Would you go to Paris or Bali?
I'm going to Bali in November.
Oh my gosh, I actually nailed that one. I feel that feels cool. Okay. Do you like cute PJs or oversized hoodie?
That's good.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the last one is a book every woman entrepreneur should read,
Mm. Um,
or a book that drove you through your early years, or maybe today.
there's a lot of them. I really love reading. The Four Agreements is pretty great.
All right, say that one more time.
The Four Agreements.
The Four Agreements, like the number four.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that by?
Luis Miguel, let me look at his last name here.
Have you read it more than once?
Uh, Miguel Ruiz, yes, I read it quite regularly. I always go
Okay,
back
that's
to
what I
it.
wondered.
Yeah.
Okay, one more time on the last name, Miguel.
Uh, Miguel Ruiz, Ruiz.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully all of our listeners start looking that up. I know I will because I have not heard that one yet, but I had a feeling you read it more than once.
Yeah.
Just the way you said that.
Uh-huh.
Well, Courtney, thank you for being part of Women and the Businesses They Own podcast. Your story matters, and today you told it beautifully. And finally, to our listeners, remember she came, she spoke, and she inspired. And we'll see you next time.